guys, Austin here with TrackTune TV. Today I'm here at Road Atlanta for Global Time Attack. Today is actually Thursday, a little practice day. I'm here with Cody Miles, who made the trek all the way out from California. Drove this thing out. No, I'm just kidding. But what's going on, Cody?
Oh, not too much. Happy to be here.
So thanks for coming on the show. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about kind of your background and a little bit about your car here. So I know that you had some experience in competition before and motocross. How'd you kind of go from motocross into doing track stuff? It's a little bit of a shift there.
Yeah, a little bit. Started riding motocross when I was, actually started riding a motorcycle when I was like 2. Started racing when I was, I think, 5. Okay. So always been kind of competitive. And growing up with motocross, it was fun and it was definitely a passion and everything of mine. But you start breaking bones, you start getting hurt, that stuff gets kind of old. I wasn't as competitive as I wanted to be. You know, I would have had to put more time into it. And then came the driver's license. So once that came, it was things with 4 wheels instead of 2. So then I started driving every extra car we had around the property, playing with it, figuring out what cars could actually do, and then it just snowballed from there.
Yeah. When'd you find the e-brake? Figure out how the e-brake works.
The e-brake was after finding out how to neutral drop an automatic transmission.
Nice. So, awesome. So, obviously, we're in front of your 2007 Subaru WRX STI. It has a little bit of work done to it that you've done pretty much all of the work yourself, too.
Mostly myself, yeah.
You know, what prompted you to start with the Subaru?
Let's see. When I was probably in about 4th, 5th grade, hearing the sound of a Subaru honestly caught me and took me. And I have to say, I love the way Subarus sound, you know, the typical rumble and everything. So that's what initially drew me to it. And then, you know, all through high school, started just paying more and more attention to them. I was always into import cars, 4 cylinders, everything like that. And something about all-wheel drive turbo Subaru just seemed extremely fun, and I always wanted to own one.
Yeah.
So finally got to the point where I was financially capable to do it and make the move. Okay. So that's what I ended up doing, and I haven't looked back since. I'm happy with how everything's turning out. So yeah, lucky enough to have one, honestly.
How long have you had this particular car?
I've had this specific one for a little over 2 years, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, and you were telling me earlier it started off as a daily driver, right?
It most certainly did. It was yeah.
Snowballs after that, doesn't it?
It's like every build that ever gets built, period. It starts off as a daily driver and then slowly becomes, I'm going to track it, you know, every couple weekends or so. And that evolves into what you see behind us. So.
Yeah. So did you do your first track day ever in this car?
My first grip track day, yeah, as far as like time attack and time events go, yeah. Played a little bit with drifting previously, so kind of back and forth between the two, trying to figure out how to find more time in life for the both of them. But right now, time attack is the primary focus.
Okay, awesome. Now you ran this car all last season in Redline time attack, right? And I believe you won, what, 4 out of 5 events in street all-wheel drive?
There was 8 events.
Okay.
I think I took the win on 5.
Okay. Awesome.
Ended it with a blown-up engine, so did a little rebuilding between then and, you know, 2016 where we are now.
See, that's the way the season's supposed to end, though. It's like, you know, when you're running like a 400-meter dash, you know, if you don't throw up at the end of it, you know, then you know that you didn't give it your all.
This is true.
So hopefully,
round 8
that doesn't happen at the end of this season, though.
That's a good point. But it's better at the end of last season versus the beginning of, you know, now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's not all bad, I guess.
Yeah. Now, looking around the car earlier, we were kind of looking at some of the details. You know, obviously you put together this car and built it yourself. Where does the attention to detail come from? You know, is that just something that you have like in every aspect of your life?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Anything that I'm actually passionate or actually care about, I stare at it, and I'm definitely my biggest critic for sure. I mean, when I was younger, I used to build model cars, you know, like 24th scale. You know, I actually built a Subaru. It was silver and everything too. Built something very similar, and I don't know. It just comes down to a paintbrush and painting the stitches onto seats that are 24th scale, just stuff like that. And I don't know. I kind of feel like it's either something you have or don't. If you find something you're passionate about, and it just kind of comes.
Yeah, awesome. Now, tell me a little bit about the airlift performance system that's on this, for your suspension. Obviously, it's not everyone's first thought as far as
No, it is
performance suspension goes.
It is not.
But obviously, you've had a lot of success with it. So what kind of prompted that?
Well, stepping back to when the car was a daily driver, like most cars are, most enthusiasts out there, they're working on their daily for the most part. So I was doing the exact same thing. I was daily in this car back and forth to work every day, and I wanted something that could honestly do more than just throw it on coilovers, set a height, and be done with it. I obviously, coming from a racing background, I wanted something that I could push and abuse and really have work. But I also, I gotta be honest, I love slammed cars.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
So then, seeing promo videos from Airlift and seeing like, okay, they're actually doing both of those things. Like, how legitimate is this? So I was a little bit skeptical at first, just like anybody would be, and kind of just bit the bullet and went for it. And I have not looked back since. I'm extremely happy with the system. It works absolutely great. I'm abusing it on a regular basis out here, getting wins with the system. It works really well, and I honestly like it. On top of being very well, the biggest thing is just practicality. It's an extremely practical suspension setup. Not only can I come up for driveways or go low at car meets or shows or whatever, race it obviously as well, but one of the biggest things, since it has a pretty large splitter sticking off the front of it, I can air it up and load it onto the trailer.
Yeah.
That's actually a larger
thing,
deal than most people consider. So that's nice to be able to get around like that. And worst case scenario, you have to get on a tow truck, which I've had to do for sure. It's really nice to be able to bring the front end up a bit and help out with that. So
I can imagine.
It's very practical overall, and it functions very well.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy.
Now, does anybody else in Global Time Attack run air suspension that you know of, or are you the first?
I believe I'm the first.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
A little bit of an experiment, but honestly, I'm pretty confident.
Now, how do people react, like when you're in the pits at an event and they find out that you're on air? What's the reaction like?
Confused,
Yeah.
Interested, very intrigued. They want proof. They want to see it work.
Yeah.
Just like how I would be a couple years ago, seeing a track car in air, I'd be like, okay, let me see it do something. Let me see some results.
Yeah.
So it's rightfully so. I mean, it's kind of new. It's kind of a new idea, and we're all doing our best to push it forward because I honestly believe in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that, traditionally, air was kind of, something that was used more in the show crowd a little bit.
Yeah.
And they didn't really pay attention to the dampers a whole lot.
Exactly.
But it seems like Airlift really has that dialed in.
They definitely are pushing that forward.
Yeah.
It's something that they are working very hard at, and I think it's going very well, honestly.
Yeah.
There's no other company out there that is really trying to push it, push the performance aspect of air suspension, on cars like them. So I'm extremely happy to be a part of the team. I couldn't ask for a better group of guys to work with, honestly.
Now, what outside influences make you such a strong competitor in Global Time Attack?
It's kind of a hard question. I'm not sure. Outside influences, I mean, there's definitely guys I look up to as far as racers and everything like that. Just the drive to be faster and just hone in your skills, honestly, is by no means am I an amazing driver or am I above the rest or anything like that, but it's just a passion to keep pushing forward and see what you can do.
Yeah.
And learn all along the way.
Okay. Awesome. Now, what else do you plan to do with the car besides Global Time Attack? I know we talked a little bit earlier about some Redline Time Attack stuff. Do you have any other series or anything that you're planning on doing?
2017 looks pretty open, I'd say.
Okay.
For 2016, definitely focusing on Redline and Global Time Attack Pro Series as well. The Redline Series is going to be 8 races throughout the year. Global Time Attack is going to be 3 races, one here in Atlanta, the next one's in New Orleans, and the one after that is in Buttonwillow. A little bit more local to me. So
almost a home track, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Awesome. So now, for the car, I mean, I know that you started the season with a new motor. Obviously, it's a built motor, right? So you want to tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, like I said, end of 2015, the motor, we had a cylinder crack. which is pretty common on these Subaru engines. So going into 2016, it was, I already had a specific group of things that I was planning on changing. I want to change this, I want to change that, I want to change that. So on top of that, it was ending round 8 with now a blown motor on top of all of it. So it was, take the block apart, figure out what was destroyed. Okay, it was definitely the block. Now let's jump into something stronger so that issue doesn't occur again. That's one of the biggest things, is learning from past failures or past experiences and kind of moving forward with, okay, let's tweak that a little bit. That's kind of how all of the tuning goes in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah, did a stronger overall motor, period. Changed some fuel lines. It's running on E85 now. It was on 91 octane previously. So definitely more power. The heads and everything, I was luckily I was able to reuse them. So it was new engine, new block, I guess you'd say. Just a stronger core.
Right.
Better fuel, more power there, definitely. And then on top of that, a few other tweaks that are really making this car a lot more aggressive this year. So
yeah.
I'm stoked about that.
Now, I know for some of the aero stuff, like you told me these end plates and stuff, you designed yourself. Where'd you kind of get some of the ideas for some of the stuff that you built yourself on the car?
As far as aerodynamics go, I honestly feel like it's a lot of a guessing game for us kind of pro amateur guys. I don't have the money to spend on a wind tunnel. I really wish I did. It would be amazing. But, the best I can do is look at, influences, other time attack cars,
right.
Cars that compete in World Time Attack Challenge, everything like that, and kind of look at what they're experimenting with or what's kind of been seen on most cars and kind of base things off of that. Obviously I like the way that looks as well.
Yeah.
So my own little interest in there as well.
Yeah. Well, next we need to tie some little or tape some little strings to it and go drive it around the track and put a GoPro there.
Yeah, definitely.
And sit there and watch, right?
It's definitely been a thought.
So now I know you said you just changed tire setup recently too. What kind of influenced that a little bit?
We have now available in my class. We're allowed to use a Bridgestone RE71R,
right?
Which is quite a bit stickier than what I was previously running, which is a Hankook RS3. So overall, that should definitely net some time loss on the laps there. So that's kind of a change that everybody's jumped on, and it's kind of like the class tire now.
Yeah. So now, as far as coming here to Road Atlanta, it's your first time here.
That's right.
I'm sure you've probably driven it on Forza a little bit.
Many times.
But coming from video games and actually showing up here and driving, I mean, what are your thoughts from your first sessions today?
Couple sessions today. Obviously, I'm still learning the track. Still have a few areas to work through and gain more confidence. As far as video games go, it helps, but by no means is it that realistic. So
yeah.
There's a few turns here that are just phenomenal. There's so much fun and a little bit on edge, a little bit sketchy, but overall it's definitely a new experience, and I like this track a lot. I really do.
There's a couple corners here that are very, very high commitment corners.
That is
they can be
true.
very fast, but they require a lot of commitment.
That is very true.
So, and I'm sure with the suspension and everything, the car probably seems pretty planted. So
yeah.
I'm sure throughout the weekend you'll just keep dropping more and more time.
That's always the goal. Start off a little bit slow, try not to break anything or cause any serious issues to eliminate yourself right off the bat. Start off slow, learn some lines, figure things out, and slowly just keep pushing.
Okay. Now, as far as the suspension goes, obviously with air, you have different ride height settings. What do you go about, or what's your process going about, adjusting the suspension, finding that right ride height for the different tracks?
As far as this setup goes, since I track it and I'm really looking for every bit of performance I can pull out of it, it's actually corner balanced at a very specific height that I have set.
Okay.
And due to the fact that the car now has the 3H system, which uses height sensors as well as looking at the pressure on each bag, I can double click a button and come back to that same exact height that I was when I corner balanced it.
Yeah.
So I can slam it and then bring it right back, and I've got height sensors and everything that I'm looking at. Everything's laid out for me, and gives you that confidence that there you are. You're all set to go again.
Yeah.
You can back up off the ground.
Yeah, I mean, with the new system, being able to replicate, exactly that same setup without having to, kind of guess a little bit like some of the older systems.
Exactly.
A lot more accurate.
Exactly.
It actually makes us a lot more viable solution for, for this type of activity.
Definitely. Like in the past, you had your pressure-based air systems, you had your height-based systems, but the 3H combines both of those.
Right.
So not only am I, it was like I didn't want to go on a height-based system because then I really have no idea what my spring rate is, essentially.
Yeah.
And a pressure-based system made more sense, but then again, there's other things that come into play that can change things. So being able to look at height sensors on top of pressure, essentially your spring rate, is extremely helpful for what I'm doing. So
okay,
it's awesome to be able to use.
Awesome. So, I mean, I know there's a lot of development, in the Subaru for you. You think you're going to stick with this car for, for a long time and just keep building it? Or do you
I love this car to death.
Else?
I've got way too much time and effort into this thing. If by some unfortunate event it gets taken away from me, I might have to build another one.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
Awesome. So now I know that you have a rather large family. What role does your family kind of play in your success? I know your dad's here with you this weekend.
A massive part.
With you all the way from California.
Yeah, massive part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have this car and a couple other cars that I mess with, but I don't have anything to tow them with.
Yeah.
I don't have, there's several other aspects that come into racing that you don't think about.
Right.
So it's like, okay, I spend pretty much every waking second thinking about how to make this thing faster, but to actually make the whole thing come together and make progress on anything as far as racing goes, you really do need help and friends and connections.
Absolutely.
And so being able to track all the way from California over here to Georgia is, I simply would not be able to do it without, for one, my dad who's stuck with me, and the entire family supporting. It's a huge help.
Yeah.
It's a lot more than some people might realize.
Yeah. So, well, we're really excited to kind of watch you progress this season. We'll be rooting for you.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, where can people find out more about you?
Mostly Instagram. It's Sideways and Smiling.
Okay.
So check that out. There's race updates, build updates, anything. So you're going to see pretty much car pictures, and that's about it. So that's all I do on there. And that's really about it. I mean, you can check on Airlift has a blog coming out about every race I do. I have an article that I write up, so you can keep up with that. I have links to those in my Instagram as well, so you can check it all out.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, this has been Austin with TrackTune TV. Cody, we really appreciate your time, and we'll be rooting for you this season.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, thanks so much.